Okay, so get ready because this week we're going deep into some really unsettling true crime stories.
Yeah, the kind that kind of make you just wonder, like, what on earth? What makes someone do things like this?
You know, those stories that like stick with you long after you've read the headline. Just
Yeah, absolutely. Those
Huh.
ones that get under your skin.
So we've got a bunch of news stories from this past week.
Yeah, we're gonna try and make sense of them.
It's a real mixed bag. We've got missing persons, some really shocking acts of violence.
Stuff that makes you just question, like, what's going on in the world? You know?
All right, so let's just jump right in. Our first case, it starts with something that honestly sounds straight out of a nightmare. Like, picture this. You're at a crowded train station.
Okay.
People just going about their day, coming and going.
Yeah, yeah.
And then this guy walks by and he's carrying a severed leg, like under his sweater.
Oh, wow.
Not only that, he's like licking it and laughing at the people watching.
Oh my gosh, that's just
It's just
yeah, that's chilling.
it's disturbing.
So this happened at the Wasco Amtrak station in California,
Mhm.
and it really sets the tone for this week's deep dive.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy Rosendo Tellez. I mean, you've got to wonder what was going on in his head, right?
Yeah, I mean, when the police got to him, he actually said that the leg was his,
Oh wow.
even though obviously he still had both of his legs.
Yeah.
And it gets even more disturbing because later the police found other body parts like scattered along the tracks.
Along the train tracks.
Yeah, nearby.
Oh
It
man.
seems like the victim was walking near the tracks and probably didn't even see the train coming.
Oh.
That's what the conductor reported anyway.
Gosh, that just adds another layer of tragedy to it, doesn't it? It makes you think about how quickly things can change, how fragile life is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's heartbreaking. And we're talking about Tellez and what he did, but it's so important to remember the victim here too and their family and friends.
Yeah, absolutely. The ripple effects of something like this are just enormous.
Definitely. This case, it's bizarre, it's disturbing, and I think it forces us to look at some really uncomfortable things about mental health and violence in our society.
Yeah, you're right. These are conversations we need to be having.
So that's a heavy start for sure, but it's just the beginning. The next case we're looking at takes us to Pennsylvania, and this is it seems like a pretty ordinary family argument at first, but it turned deadly.
Oh
A
no.
13-year-old girl admitted to stabbing her mother to death.
13 years old.
Yeah, she said it was because her mom took away her phone,
Wow. That's really young.
and the details are they're really chilling.
Ooh.
She stabbed her mom a bunch of times in the neck, her back, in her head.
Oh gosh.
And there's this one quote from her arrest warrant that's just really stuck with me. She said, "I killed my mom and she'll never forgive me if she's alive."
Oh.
It's such a mix of remorse, but also like this really disturbing lack of understanding about what she did, the seriousness of it.
Yeah, that's really heavy stuff. It makes you think about how young minds work and, I mean, maybe even the influence of technology on behavior. And of course, the family dynamic, dealing with extreme violence within a family. That's just so complex.
Yeah. It brings up this whole question of culpability when it comes to kids and how we approach rehabilitation when a minor commits such a violent act.
It's such a tough question, isn't it? Like, is it about punishment or is it about trying to help them, to rehabilitate them? Can a 13-year-old really understand what it means to take a life?
Yeah, that's a debate that's been going on for a long time, and I don't think there are any easy answers.
No, not at all. And when you talk about charging a minor as an adult, that carries so much weight, you know? It acknowledges how serious the crime is, but it also asks this question: can a child whose brain is still developing really be held responsible in the same way as an adult?
Yeah, it's really tough, and I think we're going to keep seeing these cases and having these conversations,
I
unfortunately.
think so too.
But let's move on for now to a case that's it's a little different. This one is full of mystery, and it also raises some concerns about how effective law enforcement can be.
Okay.
This is the story of Amanda Nenegar. She was 27 years old from Blubble, California, and she vanished in the middle of the night.
Just disappeared.
Yeah. The only clue they had was this really strange 911 call she made.
Hmm.
She said she had fallen asleep at the wheel on the highway, but it turned out she wasn't anywhere near a highway.
Oh, wow.
She was miles away, like out in the desert.
So what was she doing out there?
That's the thing. It doesn't make any sense. She even mentioned climbing a mountain, and that she was wearing pink. It was all very confusing.
That's so strange.
And the frustrating part is that because of that 911 call, the police, they started searching in the wrong place.
Oh, no.
They were like 30 miles away from where she actually was.
So they wasted a lot of time then.
Yeah, it could have been really crucial time, too.
Oh, man, that's just awful.
And a month after she disappeared, they found her body.
Did they ever figure out what happened?
Well, they found her naked under a tree just a mile and a half from where her car was abandoned.
Oh.
It's just a really tragic outcome, and it definitely raises questions about how the investigation was handled, you know. It's hard not to wonder if they had done things differently, if maybe she could have been found sooner.
Yeah, it's a haunting thought for her family, for
Yeah.
sure. And I think it's a reminder that these missing persons cases, they need a fast and accurate response. Every minute counts.
Absolutely.
It really makes you think about, how important technology is in these cases, right?
Yeah.
I mean, her cell phone data and that 911 call, I mean, those were really crucial pieces of the puzzle.
Right.
But it also shows how, even with all the technology we have, human error can still have such a huge impact,
Yeah, for sure. It's a reminder that even in this high-tech world we live in, the human element is still so important.
Absolutely.
And speaking of cases where technology is super important, let's move on to another disappearance. This one's really gotten a lot of attention, partly because the police haven't said much about it.
Okay, I'm interested.
This takes us to Kansas, where two women, Veronica Butler and Jillian Kelly, they just vanished while they were driving to Oklahoma.
For what?
It was for a kid's birthday party. All they found was their car, abandoned, way out in a remote area.
And no sign of them.
Nope. And the police, they're calling it a suspicious disappearance.
Suspicious.
Yeah, which, makes you think something bad happened.
Yeah, definitely. It means they think there was probably foul play involved, which obviously raises the stakes.
Right. And get this. The police told their families and friends to stay quiet about it.
Really? Why would they do that?
It's pretty unusual, right? It could be to protect the investigation. Maybe they don't want any misinformation getting out there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or it could mean they have a suspect in mind and they don't want to tip him off.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Especially since it was Kelly's husband who found the car.
Oh, wow.
And he's a pastor, and he was searching with another pastor.
That does add another layer to it.
It does. And then there's this whole custody battle thing going on connected to one of the women.
Custody battle.
Yeah. We've seen how those can turn violent sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, you've got this remote location, a car that probably has a lot of evidence in it, and a possible link to a custody battle. It's like a mystery waiting to be solved.
I mean, and in this day and age with all the technology we have, they leave a trail everywhere they go, right? So text messages, phone records, location data, all of that could be the key to figuring out what happened to Veronica and Jillian.
It's true. It's almost like a modern-day detective story, but instead of fingerprints, they're looking at digital footprints.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's switch gears now to a case that's been in the public eye for years. This is the disappearance of Stacy Peterson.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. Her husband, Drew Peterson, right?
Mm-hmm. He's already in prison for murdering his third wife.
Kathleen, right.
Yeah. And there's always been this suspicion that he was involved in Stacy's disappearance, too.
Right.
This case has had more twists and turns than a soap opera.
It has.
But there might finally be a break in the case.
Really? What happened?
Stacy's sister says she found her remains in a canal.
In a canal. How did she find them?
She actually has sonar images that seem to back up her claim.
Wow. She's been searching for her sister for so long. It's amazing that she hasn't given up.
She really hasn't. She's been so determined. And this could be what finally brings her family some closure.
I can't even imagine how difficult it's been for her all these years, but her persistence, it's really inspiring.
It is, but she's also been really vocal about how frustrated she is with the police.
What do you mean?
She says they haven't been taking her seriously, and they're not really following up on this new lead.
Oh, wow. That's not good.
No, it's not. It just shows how hard it can be for families who are desperate for answers, especially when it seems like law enforcement isn't doing enough.
It's true. There needs to be better communication, more empathy, even when they don't have all the answers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It makes you think about all the families out there who are still waiting for answers,
Yeah.
still searching for their loved ones.
It's true. They deserve closure, and they deserve justice.
Absolutely. And hopefully cases like this, like Stacy Peterson's case, they'll help to improve how these investigations are done,
Yeah.
and maybe get more resources for families too.
Yeah, I agree. These stories, I mean, they're tough to hear, but they can also be a real push for change.
Right.
They show us that we need to keep looking at how these cases are handled and how we can do better.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So we've covered a lot today, some really, really heavy stuff. What stands out to you the most from all these cases?
Well, it's easy to get lost in all the darkness, all the awful things we've been talking about.
Yeah.
But what really strikes me is the resilience of the human spirit. Like
Yeah.
these families who just refuse to give up hope, the investigators who are so dedicated to solving these mysteries, and the advocates who are out there fighting for change.
It's that little bit of hope that keeps us going, right?
Yeah.
That reminds us that even when things are really bad, there's still good in the world.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that we all have a part to play. Even small things can make a difference.
Oh, what?
Like staying informed about these issues, supporting organizations that are working to make things better, even just talking about these tough topics with other people.
Yeah, it's true. We can't just ignore these stories, right?
No, we can't. Awareness is so important because it helps us understand, and understanding is how we start to fix things.
Yeah, it's a good point. So before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought. Think back to that image we started with, that guy at the train station with the
Look.
severed leg.
Oh, yeah.
It's easy to just be shocked by it, to think of it as just some random act of craziness.
Right.
But what if we try to look a little deeper? What if we think about what could lead someone to that point to be so disconnected from reality?
That's a really important question. We need to look beyond just the shock value and try to understand what's going on underneath.
Yeah. Like, are there things in our society or personal struggles or maybe even failures in our systems that could contribute to someone going to such extremes?
Exactly. It's not about excusing their actions, but about trying to understand the bigger picture so we can hopefully prevent things like this from happening again.
It's a tough question to think about, but it's one we need to ask ourselves.
Absolutely. We have to move past judgment and try to understand.
It's a good reminder that everyone has a story, and sometimes those stories can take some really dark turns.
It's true.
So, as you go about your day today, just remember the people we talked about today, their stories.
Yeah.
Let those stories be a reminder that we need to be aware, we need to do what we can to help to make a difference.
Right. Educate yourselves, support those organizations that are out there doing the work, and be an advocate for change in your own community.
And don't forget, if any of these cases really stuck with you, go do some more research, learn more about them, and see if there's a way you can get involved.
Yeah, even just spreading awareness can be a huge help.
All right, so that's it for this week's Deep Dive.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Stay curious, stay informed, and we'll see you next time.